Today, I'm going to share with you how to get a top LSAT score even if you are a so-called non-traditional student. For those who don't know me, my name is Steve Schwartz. I've been teaching the LSAT since 2005, and I personally increased my own LSAT score from a 152 to a 175. I have an email here from a student who writes, "Hi Steve, I'm a 42-year-old professional with a career in finance. I've decided to pursue my passion for law, specifically corporate law, to combine my experience with new legal expertise. It's been over 20 years since I was in school, and the idea of taking the LSAT is pretty intimidating. I started studying with some prep books, but feel out of touch with study techniques. My initial score was a 150. Balancing a full-time job, family, and LSAT prep is tough. I aim for a 170 plus to get into a top law school, but I worry that my age and time away from academics are disadvantages. Do you have any strategies for someone like me to refresh my study skills and efficiently prepare for the LSAT?" So first off, you don't need to worry about being an older law school applicant. Law schools love so-called non-traditional students because they have real-world experience, oftentimes real-world exposure to the practice of law, but even if not law in particular, professional experience like finance is viewed as a unique asset, a unique background that can be helpful in getting your employment upon graduation, which law schools are quite concerned with because the new US News rankings, the new methodology, prioritizes employment outcomes more than it did in the past. Now, I know it could be intimidating to get back into LSAT prep, back into studying if you've been out of school for a while, but with a career in finance, which is a pretty demanding sort of job, I would typically think, you've been using your brain. It's not as if the past 20 years has been a total waste for you here, and you're well situated to tackle something relatively difficult like the LSAT. Now, if your job is pretty demanding, you mentioned that you're having challenges balancing work with family and LSAT prep, it's okay to have shorter study periods, even just 30, 60 minutes a day on weekdays, and then hopefully a bit more on weekends can be enough to make steady forward progress. Now, you mentioned you're looking for at least a 20-point increase. It's possible that the prep books are not going to be enough for you, especially if you're feeling disconnected from them, feeling out of touch with what they're doing. You may benefit more from a group program or a one-on-one program, and ideally you're connecting with someone who can relate to your situation. So what I found, for example, is that in our group programs, our group classes at LSAT Unplugged, a lot of non-traditional students who feel disconnected because they don't know anyone else in their personal life studying for the LSAT, they benefit from that community feel, recognizing they're not alone because there are plenty of other students in our programs who are also pursuing law as a second or even third career. 42 isn't as old as you might think when it comes to applying to law school. I've worked with students even in their 60s and 70s for whom law school has been a lifelong dream, and they're coming back to it just because they really want to do it that much. And again, since you're having difficulty balancing work with family and LSAT prep, I would recommend that you have a day-by-day study plan laying out exactly what you need to do from now until test day, so that when you do have that time carved out that you can sit down and focus on LSAT prep, you know exactly what to do every single day. You're not wasting time each day thinking about, should I take a practice section? Should I do some individual questions for drilling? Should I watch a course lesson video? Should I join a class? Should I have my one-on-one coaching session? It'll be all mapped out for you up front. So when you do have that spare 15, 30 minutes, you can buckle down and get to work immediately. And then maybe on the weekends, that's when you're taking your full practice tests. Now, you may feel like you need to refresh your study skills, as you mentioned. I would recommend building it up bit by bit so that you're not feeling overwhelmed, so that you can dust off your academic brain, your study skills, so to speak, sharpen them up. And so maybe you start off with doing just a handful of questions, maybe the first 5 questions in a logical reasoning section. Then you build it up to 10 questions in a logical reasoning section. And before you know it, you're doing full practice sections, not just working on accuracy, but also working on pacing. Then maybe you join a class and you just sit back and you listen to the questions other students are asking. And then the following class, you actually ask a question or two. Before you know it, you're the one in the hot seat explaining your reasoning, getting feedback from other students, getting feedback from the instructor. And then if you're looking for a bit more accountability, you can add on some private one-on-one coaching sessions on a weekly basis so that you can get all your questions answered. At LSAT Unplugged, as I mentioned, we offer group classes and one-on-one programs for whenever you're taking the LSAT. If you're interested in finding out more, you can check out the links below this video to book a call with me and my team. We'd be glad to help you out. And one more thing I wanted to mention for you is that the analytical skills you've been using in your finance career translate more to, say, logical reasoning than you might think. A lot of questions in logical reasoning, more of them than ever before, now involve numbers and percentages, testing your understanding of absolute versus relative values, the idea that a large percentage can still be a very small number, and a small percentage can still be a very large number. Some of those concepts are not as intuitive to other LSAT students as you might think, but for you with a career in finance, presumably some more fluency in mathematics and numerical reasoning, it could come a bit more naturally. So that's a unique asset that you bring to your LSAT preparation. And these questions are showing up on the LSAT more frequently than ever before because LSAC removed the logic game section and replaced it with a second scored logical reasoning section. And so we're seeing indications that LSAC is going to test these questions more and more over time. Since they can no longer test these concepts in games, they're now going to show up more and more in logical reasoning. So while other students may struggle with these concepts, you're in a good position to do quite well on these questions. And so during your study sessions, during classes, you can bring that experience to the table. Anyway, folks, that's all for now. I hope you found this video helpful. And in the meantime, I wish you all the best and take care.